All right. Let's just check I'm coming through to you all. Get the chat up. Check YouTube. Okay. Right. Kevin will be with us in a few minutes. Just give you guys a couple of minutes to all start feeding in yourselves. And then we will get going. Feel free to actually, thank you everyone for coming. First of all, feel free to start just putting questions in the chat as early as you want. We will keep a track of them, and we will, I will make a list and we'll come back to them all at the end if we don't get through them in real time. But yeah, feel free to just get posting away with questions in the chat. So joining us in a couple of minutes is Kevin. And right, cool. I've got chat on YouTube and I've got chat. Yeah, okay, cool. So we've got some housekeeping to get through as well. The replays are all available. It's going to be the same link throughout the whole week. I'm going to type this in both chats, and I've emailed this out to you guys. So if you haven't already been emailed this 3 or 4 times by me, then check your junk or message me, luke@guitarvivo.com, because maybe there's a problem with your email on my list. So if you've not been spammed with emails, we've got a problem because I've been spamming you all. So the link for all our replays is guitarvivo.com/summit-replays. I'm going to put that in the chat, and I'm going to put that in the YouTube chat too. So after every event, there is about a 45 to 60 minute buffer period that Zoom takes before it will give me the download for the event. And then I've got to re-upload that to the website. So typically from the end of the event until you're able to watch it on the Summit Replays bit can take about 90 minutes to 2 hours, but I will factor that in. So the 24-hour replay is not 24 hours from the start of the session or the end of the session. It's 24 hours from once I've been able to get that link up and get that link live for you, which is typically about 2 hours after. So that's been said. Had a few questions about extensions on replays. Unfortunately, we're not able to do that for a few reasons. Lots of our artists have digital products elsewhere, and to avoid conflicts with contracts, we agreed to just have 24 hours. But that being said, for some of the artists that don't have that, some of the artists have said that they will allow 48 hours, and I will let you all know those artists when they happen, so that you don't have to rush to rewatch their video. And we're also in talks with some of the guys about whether or not we can put their stream up in the member section of guitarvivo.com, which Scott Henderson's tomorrow is going to be. So Scott's masterclass, you'll be able to check out. Anyone who's a member of guitarvivo.com will have unlimited access to be able to check that out. So that's very exciting. And we're going to try and get Jack Gardner's one from today, see if we can work out a deal, because you guys loved that and I thought it was incredible. Did anyone here? I've got a couple of questions for you guys. First of all, what time zones are you in? I'm going to ask you to be gentle on me today. Hopefully Kevin's going to supply the energy, but we're at 2 a.m. here in the UK. So if anyone else has stayed up later than that, if anyone else is later than 2 a.m. Pacific Standard Cali, yeah, you got it all right, Mark. That's all right for you. Yeah, you East Coast guys. Okay, so this is another thing. This is what I've tried to do. I've had, hopefully, we've got something that's live and streaming in all of your time zones at a convenient time for you across the week, so you can get along to some of these live events. Right. Kevin is just on his way. he's basically Kevin's on a boat, which is why we're having a little bit of a technical hitch to start with. He's just gonna sort out his connection and then be with us. Who here actually knows who Kevin is and anything about him? Because it's quite an interesting story, and I've got a bit of backstory that you guys might not know. So, if you know Kevin, if you've heard of Kevin before the event, let me know. If it's your first time meeting Kevin, let me know as well, because that will also let me know how much information I need to get out of Kevin about himself. Oh man, loads of first times. Well, the cool thing is, stylistically, if you like anyone else this week, if you like Scott Henderson, if you like Jack Gardner, if you like Tom Quayle, you're gonna dig Kevin. Did anyone check him out before the event? Oh, thank you, Bojan. Thank you. Yeah, I am trying to send emails as often as possible. I do feel bad about over emailing you guys. That's why I've kept it all to one replay link. And again, those of you that are outside the Zoom area, I'm really sorry about that. Zoom didn't tell me that that was an issue until after I'd signed up. So cool. So we got Saporino, who's been following him for a bit, following him on Instagram for a while. Okay. Right. So okay, cool. So I'll tell you how I met Kevin. Kevin was this is the funny thing. You're going to realize that you probably all should know Kevin because of how deep in the or how well connected he is with the other members of the panel and the other guys speaking today. It's weird that you haven't come across him if you're following those guys. But Kevin was studying with Levi when I think he was about 14 or 15. And Levi put him in touch with me because I was trying to grow my channel at the time and I was looking to network. So Levi sent him over to me to hook up with. Yeah, shout out if you know Levi. Levi's been incredible in organizing all of this. So Levi sent him to me. So then I met Kevin, and back then he was about 14 or 15, and he was playing covers of like Guthrie, note for note. He was playing fives, and kind of similar to how Jack started out and how Jack grew his channel. Kevin was playing some pretty perfect covers. Then, fast forward 2 years, Kevin, who's originally from Norway, came over to study in the UK. He went to Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts, where he met Jack and Rick Graham. So he was, I think, in the same year as Jack, studying together. And I think he had a couple of lessons from Rick. So already we've got Kevin's hooked up with Levi, hooked up with Jack, hooked up with Rick. Then the dude, as if this isn't impossible enough to be a European guy, goes and gets into Berkeley and moves all the way across to, where's Berkeley? Is it Boston? Where the hell? I've forgotten where Berkeley is. Yeah, Berkeley's in Boston, right? So this little dude from Norway goes all the way to Berkeley in Boston and then starts studying with the heavyweights over there. So if I were you guys who are starting to prep your questions, you have a rich history of he's got a rich history of experience that you guys can all ask about. So feel free to, knowing what I've just said, dig in on any of that stuff. But we have our member of the cabin crew who's just arrived. Can you hear me? Don't think he knows if he can hear me. That's why. Can you hear me? Oh, we can't hear you. No.
What about now?
A little bit. Came through a tiny
A
bit.
little bit? Okay, 1 second. Is this better at all? A little bit? No? Is this
Yeah,
better?
that's getting better. Yeah, yeah.
Ish? Better?
Let's see. Let's just ask
Better
people in
yet?
the chat. Guys in the
All
chat, can
right.
you hear Kevin? Barely. No, no, no.
Barely? All right. 1 second. How about this? Is this better?
That's it. There we go. Yeah, yeah. Coming through now.
Okay, good. It's not peaking or anything?
Not really. Not for me. We'll
Awesome.
let you know as we go.
All right, how are you doing?
Man, I'm good. I was just telling the guys in the chat. It's about 2 a.m. here, so I'm looking forward to this. I got like a half-hour power nap, which I was
Perfect. All you need.
terrified about taking it in case I
That's
slept.
awesome.
But man, I'm psyched and ready to go. I think guys in the chat um, are psyched, ready to hear what you have to say.
Yeah,
How are you,
me
man?
too. So, I'm good. So, do we have a couple people in the chat? Is it pretty good to like communicate with them
Yeah,
through
yeah.
this or?
So if you click the chat icon, it should come up on the right for you, and we've
Mm-hmm.
got um,
A little clipping. All right. Um, I just boosted the shit out of this pretty much. Is this better, or is it too quiet again?
not too quiet, somewhere between the two.
All right. What about now?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. Perfect.
So yeah, guys in the
Sweet.
chat, feel free to let us know if you have any problems or anything, or anything changes for you. But yeah,
Yeah. But I'm surprised. I'm happy this works out. It looks good on my end with your camera and stuff. To everybody in the chat, I was just telling Luke I'm on a cruise in the Bahamas right now, so it's kind of like scary with like the internet situation, but it looks pretty solid to me at least. So
yeah, you're coming through really well. I'm relieved.
yeah, good, good,
What time zone is
awesome.
that then? Are you?
Yeah, I'm in Eastern right now,
Oh,
so
still in Eastern.
right
Okay,
now it's 9:30. Yeah.
cool. So I'm just going to share. There's also a. This is also being streamed on YouTube. So there's a separate chat in there, but I feed that all in to you. But some people here like to see both chats, so they open YouTube as well.
Gotcha. Very
Um,
cool.
cool, awesome,
Awesome.
man. So I think I kind of gave people a little bit of a history about you, but didn't get to anything recent. And that's where some really cool stuff has happened with your adventures in the States. I thought maybe you
Yeah.
want maybe give people a little bit of your like professional rundown since you left Berkeley.
Since I left Berkeley, I left Berkeley in 2016, um, and my first gig was like at a theme park. It was like kind of like a rock show, super fun, a lot of energy, a lot of playing. Um, did kind of was just the start of my career and got used to like playing with in-airs and all that sort of stuff. Through somebody on that gig, I got hired for a tour for an Irish like dancer meets like rock band show. So I was touring. It was like a national tour. So we did, I think it was 72 cities with that, and that tour actually ended in Nashville. So that made me stay in Nashville because I mean, I was there, so I was like, well, might as well check out Nashville, kind of a thing. And so I stayed in Nashville for, or well, kind of backtracking a little bit, there was a theater in Knoxville, which is like 3 hours away from Nashville. I joined a theater there for almost a year, and then I went to Nashville. But I was like kind of in the South in that area up until the pandemic. During my time there, I played. I had like a union theater gig, so I went and did that usually every day. And then I had like also just artist gigs that took me out for what they call weekend warriors in Nashville. I got kind of it's kind of where I learned about like all the like harmonic stuff that you learn in school and all that. I really kind of just found out what it is to be a musician there. I got a gig with Jonathan Cain from Journey, who I still play with there. And during the pandemic, my lease was ending, no gigs was there, and I've always wanted to go to LA, so I was like, might as well just pack up and head on out. And so I made the move to LA, and that's where I've been. And so I've been super fortunate with the career I had there. Had some really cool gigs. This is super cool. Like what I'm on right now, it's just one of the artists that I'm playing for. She's doing like a private event at this ship, so literally have one 90-minute show that we're going to do, and the rest is just like an all-inclusive show or no, cruise where we can just drink and eat and whatever we want. So I think today so far is only 9. Like I've already had 3 steaks or steak dinners. And it's just like it's just kind of chill, you know. Better use it for what it's worth. So
Yeah, man, milk it.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Very few perks in this line of work, so you may as well.
Yeah, whenever you have the opportunity. So it's fun.
So for people that don't know your style, I know this is always weird to ask, but how would you describe the kind of your playing style?
I take it you guys talked about some of the fusion stuff, nerding stuff that we've had, and
You came over here, met up with Jack and Rick and stuff like that.
yeah. So I started doing all of that. Berkeley has even more of like a into the jazz kind of realm, and I try to have some of those elements, but I also try to, because I'm mainly just a hired gun for work, so it's just any job that pays basically. And I try to take all those elements that I do on the gig and try to incorporate those together with the fusion, because I mean fusion is just a fusion of genres. So I try to incorporate, like obviously in Nashville I did a lot of country stuff, so I try to incorporate like some country vocabulary, but I think it's fun to like add some of the kind of harmonic content that you can get from like fusion music or jazz and stuff. I grew up on rock music, so I think my first introduction to the kind of like theoretical playing would be from seeing like Joe Satriani's what does he call it? Do you know the name for it? It's like you do it like a drone and then you just play different modes over it.
Yeah, his modal interchange video, that one, or pitch axis video.
Yeah, pitch axis is the name of it. I started with that kind of a thing, and so I think very modally. So even for like chord changes and stuff, I when I separate it into like a full mode versus like a chord and a substitution, if that makes sense. And so yeah, I try to just merge all the things that I do into just one thing that's just myself kind of a thing.
Yeah, awesome, man. So do you want to I'll hand it over to you, let you tell us about what you want to talk about today.
Let's do it. So what I wanted to talk about is just how you can create your own modes, and we're gonna just base it off of 7-note scales, which is, or septatonic scales, I guess the right word for it is, but just 7 notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, basically. And to me, how modes work is that each interval has like its own vibe, and I almost like to look at them as little friends that you have, and then just depending on what friend you bring to this friend group, then your one friend may kind of bring like a different personality. So usually, like to the core, your friend is always this friend. Like you may have that one stoic friend, or you may have this like super sweet friend, and then they're generally sweet, but just depending on what kind of group of people you bring him along with, they may kind of just seem a little bit different, but generally they're the same. And so that's the way I kind of like to look at modes. And so the most important part is just to find out what is your perception of each of the intervals. So if we're doing, say, I'm just going to do E. Can you hear the guitar? Awesome. So the 1 is kind of like the most kind of potato thing, so you don't really have to think anything else about this than just 1. But what is the 9? What does that make you feel? And depending on what the rest of the group that you have with it, this 9 is going to feel very different. So if you have this note here, but you have a minor third, for instance, it feels very different than if you had the major third with it. So, to me, my perception of the 9 with the major third is that it's very calming. But with the minor third, it's still kind of calming, but it has an element of like, it's way sadder in a way. And to me, that's the kind of difference between just the 9 generally. You also have like a flat 9. Which is way darker, obviously. And that is with a minor third. If you combine it with a major third, for instance, it sounds very exotic to me. And that's just literally just the second note in the scale. That's the 9th. Find out what is the difference that you feel in terms of that. So I'm just gonna play around with it with a couple of different modes that I think are important, because I truly think that there's only so and so many that you really have to know in order to kind of get through all kind of chord changes. And then from there, we're just going to go ahead and develop other modes. But basically, the first obvious mode that's super, it's a little low. Okay, let's boost this. Better? Okay, cool. So the first mode to take note of is the normal major mode. And to me, this one is a little bit hard to kind of put adjectives to, but what I want this to be very collaborative. So anybody who's here, I'd love to hear just one adjective of how this makes you feel, including you, Luke. And that could be like, say, a color, it could be a mood, anything. That's great, hopeful.
Yeah, I like these ones. We
Those
got
are
hope,
all
longing,
Yep.
pure. We haven't got the cliche happy yet, but that's what I feel.
Yeah.
Brainwashed for that. But yeah.
Yep, those are great. And then, how does this make you feel in comparison? What do you think, Luke?
To me, that sounds kind of hollow and empty,
Mm-hmm.
less defined.
Mm-hmm. Feels
When,
kind of like you can almost go into like the oblivion with it,
yeah, yeah. So
and
yeah, we
a
got
little
ethereal.
bit dreamy. Yeah, totally ethereal. That's a great one. And that's Lydian. So the dissonance was a sharp 4 for this, but that was Lydian. So that's number 2. That's super important. I'm just gonna type it here so we know where to cut it. And then the next one, that's what this makes me feel is like it makes me. I feel like this is kind of like the mode for an underscore where you would go on like a pirate adventure or something. And that's Mixolydian. So we have some cool ones for the yellow mustard. Love that. That was Mixolydian.
That's kind of proud. That's how I feel about that one. It's, I like the tangy one. It's kind of
Yeah,
it also has that journeyman feel.
totally. And so the cool part with all of these, they all just to kind of, I don't want to go too much into that because I'm sure somebody else will dig like fretboard visualization, but all of those to me fit under the same kind of like K shapes and pentatonics. So if I visualize like an E, you can still get the Lydian in that. You can get mixed Lydian, and you can get Ionian, all under the same kind of K shapes and also pentatonic shapes that are all fit in between these. And so kind of mixing these, another cool one that's pretty important, any kind of dominant chord that you play around with that doesn't really necessarily resolve like the normal that kind of a way. This is a great mode for those. And also it's just great to kind of add some different color to any 5 chord, for instance. So I'd love to hear some adjectives for this. So yeah, this is Lydian dominant. Super rebellious, yeah. The kind of thing that I like to kind of associate this with is the obvious the kind of Simpsons kind of a melody. Love that. But that one is super important too. So that is Mixolydian sharp 11, or you could do Lydian flat 7. I'm typing to Zoom. Oh wait, I lost you,
It
Luke.
might just be to me. I'll type in. I'll type in.
Okay, awesome. The next one that's super important, Mixolydian. But there's another kind of a but in this one. So I'd love to hear adjectives in this, and the kind of point of me asking for adjectives right now is for people to kind of trigger ideas from other people as well, and just like have it be like kind of like a shared experience where one may feel one way, and then that might trigger another idea for somebody else. So gypsies, that's great. What's yours, Luke?
Kind of exotic, that kind of Eastern flavor, but not as strong as you would have if you'd put the flat 9 in as well. So it's kind of a subtler exoticism, if that makes sense.
Definitely. That's awesome. Love it. That's what I would say is those are the most important, at least to me personally, for the kind of major family. And then going into more of the minors.
Oh, sorry, that last one was mixed Lydian flat 6, right?
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. So minor, what does this make you feel? Sad with additional tension, that's great. Those are awesome. Great. Awesome. And that is just Aeolian. You have this is a new one. Do you have a good one for this, Luke?
But this is one I struggle with. When I hear this, I almost, I really latch into the major sounds that you get from
the half to
from the half tone up, sounding like we're in that kind of major 7 world. My ear have a good like command of the Phrygian kind of sound. I always feel
So that's
that.
That's super interesting. Do you feel like that, regardless of the situation of it?
No, probably in a musical or in like a, a really heavily established context. Yeah, like if
Hmm.
there's changes outlining it, we're going back there. But in this kind of drone context, even with the drone, my ear kind of just goes, yeah, let's just hear that brighter sound that you get. So, all those
Yeah,
notes that you're playing that resolve down, it hears those notes as being the real harmony. Um,
interesting. Yeah, okay. To me, it's like just the saddest of them. Like there are like definitely darker modes, but this is definitely kind of just the saddest. It's that if you have a song like this sound for me, it's just a very sad sound versus or like when you go to this, it's just a very like somebody literally stabbed your heart kind of a vibe to me. Um, that's just how I perceive Phrygian. Um, and then it is very bluesy. Yeah, that's a great one. I think a part of that could be because it's kind of like the to go to scale for like a minor blues, almost like a thing. To me, it's in this obviously the sad realm, like the minors, but it's also a little bit hopeful. So yeah, yep, that's Dorian. It's great. Um,
yeah, for me, it's like the most major of the minors.
yeah, I mean it technically is because it shares that. Um, and then moving along, I think that this one is super important as well. It's close. That would be melodic minor, but we have this. So we have like quite the leap here. I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. That's great. Love it. What's yours, Luke? What do you think?
For me, it's an angrier minor sound. It's yeah,
Yeah,
sad and angry. But I like the
it's very sad, almost Egyptian a little bit, but it's like if you pissed off an Egyptian kind of a thing. It's great. Uh, I am gonna call this harmonic minor, and then melodic minor. Have, obviously just wanted to show you how food till you bring that douchey friend. Um, no, the classical music way up in a different round. I don't know which is which. Right now, I'm just intervals, kind of just the general vibe of that. Minor. It's kind of at the tones. I prefer low. Hello?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I think our connection's being a bit dodgy for a second. So maybe we'll take like a 2-minute break. If you want to grab some water, now would be a really good time. We're about halfway through. So yeah, just saying if anyone wants to grab a drink, I don't know if you can hear me, if I'm coming through clearly. Can you hear me? Am I all right? Okay, cool. Right. We'll let Kevin take like a little break and wait it out. Yeah, he's on a boat, as he said. So they might be having a little temporary glitch, maybe sailing near some power lines. I don't know what you get at sea. But yeah, we'll just give him a couple of minutes. But yeah, we can review everything. Yeah, so quick review for major and dominant 7 has gone. So yeah, some of the scales went through Lydian dominant, and we went through mixed Lydian flat 6. Didn't do mixed Lydian flat 9, but we did do the sharp 11. So maybe we should, when he gets back, have a look at mixed Lydian with a flat 9 with the natural 6th. Bonus points if anyone knows what scale that comes from. Mixed Lydian flat 9. I'll tell you what, if first person to get it wins a month free membership to the website.
Get back.
We're back. Is it okay?
Ish. I'll try to reset Zoom.
Okay, you do that. So if I'm still coming through clear, we won't waste the time. Cool. So were there any questions based on what we've done now? We may as well collect questions for him for when he gets back. Is everyone following along with the idea of what we're doing and the family analogy that we're working on? Yeah, so cool, awesome. So it's lots of things. It's ear training. It's also a way of reverse engineering what you want to play, right? Connecting although you're learning what the scale is, you've now got another way of thinking about how to get to that scale. Another way of not justifying what you play, but accessing the emotion of what you're playing, right? So yeah, and this friend analogy, I think it's really good, because I think a lot of people look at a scale and they'll say, oh, it's got this interval, and like, oh, Dorian's got a major sixth interval, and that's why it sounds this way. But in reality, it's also got these other intervals, and it's about their relationship together. So that idea of putting in the friend to the friendship group and seeing how they react in context with the major third was a really nice idea that I'd not really heard many people talk about. Kevin, I think you're back. You're moving well.
Yes. Awesome.
Awesome. Let's go for it.
Yeah. Did you get any of the Locrian?
No, we didn't get Locrian, no.
No. So, to me, I think that the most useful one is because Locrian is such a strong sound that I think it's more important to shed Locrian Natural 9, kind of an extra amount versus this normal Locrian. So Locrian Natural 9, I'd love to hear some adjectives on this, because it's kind of a little bit out there, a little bit more involved one. So love to hear everybody's adjectives for how it makes you feel. Fragile is great. What do you think, Luke? Do you have a good one?
Again, the moment you start playing that natural 9, my ear starts going. It almost resolves all the tension from the flat 5. It's like, okay, we just Dorian now, and then you go back to that flat 5, and it's like, oh, we're dark again. And my ear just fills in the blanks, like, oh, we're like playing the blue scale with an added 9th, and that's how my ear kind of hears it. Like, I think I'm very
interesting.
But yeah, that's see, I like Fragile.
Yeah. To me, I think evil is kind of like mysteriously evil. It's kind of like that deceiving person that is kind of secretly evil, but you're not quite sure yet. Two-Face, that's awesome. But Locrian Natural 9, awesome scale to shed. I think covered . I think we can move on. I think from here, uh, there's like a little dominant family that's similar to the dominance that we had, but has like a stronger sense of kind of unevenness, so it needs to resolve a little bit stronger. And the obvious one would be the Super Locrian. What? Anybody have any good adjectives on that?
I find this is like
Super.
being lost, or like, yeah, that's how I feel it, kind of lost.
Mhm.
But I'm not sure. Wait.
It's partially dreamy because of that, right? Because of that, the whole leaf would just like whole note jumps. It's called Super Locrian. What's the reason for that? There's like have you ever, Luke? Have you ever seen that? There's like a whole diagram where the kind of names of the modes come from. So like depending on like if this is the beginning of it and this is the middle and this is the end, like that's the name, like theoretically
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be
yes.
to have that right.
In Jeff's book, Modology. It's in there. But for like general
Yeah.
purposes, super is when you've got that lower tetrachord of 1 flat 2 flat 3, and then the fourth has become the major third. So you can think of it as just a scale where the fourth is flattened to become the major third. That's the kind of simplest way. So like your super Phrygian is the same thing.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point too. I think that this one is easier to visualize as having 2/3 and then just no fourth in general. So like when I see this, it's just like 1 flat 2, flat 3, major 3, and then flat 5, flat 6, flat 7. Because the kind of major third is also that one of those key elements from where you would normally kind of apply the scale, but it's also cool to just add it, but we're going to talk about that in a second. Another cool one that's in the kind of altered family will be altered natural 5. So this one really is the whole sound of that, of going from like a 5 to a 1 kind of a thing. And it's one that isn't as kind of dreamy as the Super Locrian. I believe. Do you know the kind of correct name for this outside just altered natural 5?
Yeah, so this is super Phrygian.
Super Phrygian. Okay, yeah, that's
So
crazy
it's
name.
a Phrygian scale, like, and then you drop that fourth to become the major third.
Excellent scale, because it kind of, it sounds more inside over an altered than a Super Locrian scale would. Funny enough, even though in the kind of rhythm section somebody might play that flat 5, it does sound like more inside for whatever reason that is. So that's a super wait, can someone replace so are you typing it in?
I'll type that in. Don't worry. You keep going.
Okay, awesome. So those are the kind of 3 little families that's fun to think about. So any chord that you find in any set of changes can come in any of these. So that would be like the major family, minor family, and the dominant family. And generally, every chord that you find and just meet is going to have like a chord scale that's theoretically right. So depending on if the major 7 chord is a 4 chord in a song, then normally that would be Lydian. But you can also exchange that for any of the other ones as long as you can hear it. So it's almost like forcing that friend that wasn't really invited, but you like invited him regardless. So it sounds a little bit off, but like if you make it smooth, the whole interaction can go well. But if you didn't invite him and don't do it the right way, people are going to be like, what the fuck, why did you bring that guy? Like, we didn't want him here. So that's the way I like to look at that. And it's cool because you can kind of superimpose any of them as long as you can hear it. And the easiest way to get started with that is actually the minors, because I think there's like a theory about something called like a composite minor scale, which is just like all of the different minor modes all together, but it's much easier interchange between all those minors versus the majors or dominants, but you can still do it in all those settings. Let me just see. Yes, so the major ones: Ionian, Lydian. You could do Lydian flat 7, and then there's that gray zone where it's kind of in between major and dominant, and that would be Mixolydian flat 6, Mixolydian sharp 11. And I just heard that you mentioned Mixolydian flat 9 and natural 6.
Yeah.
I haven't.
That was one we didn't do.
I haven't used that much actually, but that one's from harmonic minor scale. Is that it?
A harmonic major. 5th.
Harmonic major. Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, shed it if you dig the sound of it. Like any mode that you think are cool is kind of like the way to go. So now we've had that kind of background out of the gate. It's kind of a lot, but I hope everybody is following. What we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of do like almost like a random kind of thing. So if how many people do we have in the chat right now? Do you know, Luke?
Yeah, we've got a combined total of about 25.
Okay, cool. Is there a way to just assign 7 people to name an interval each?
We can just do first come, first serve.
We can try. Okay, let's try that. Okay, so whatever is the majority of major and minor 9, just type in whether you want a major or minor 9. So we're gonna find 7 notes and we're gonna make a scale out of it.
I have a feeling we can predict this. Yeah, minor 9 so far.
2 of them. Okay, cool. And then what about the third, minor or major? Well, great, awesome.
Major
third. What about the fourth? Perfect, diminished, or augmented? Sharp 4.
Damn,
all right.
Everyone likes the same thing.
That's awesome, love it. All right, what about the 5? So obviously we can't do the diminished 5 now. It's got to be a perfect or augmented. All right, perfect 5. What about the 6, major or minor? Cool, and then finally 7. All right, so flat 6 and flat 7. So minor 9, major third,
Minor
sharp 4,
9, major third, sharp 4th, perfect 5th,
perfect.
flat 6, and flat 7.
Oh, jeez. All right, let's try this. See what it's gonna sound like. Oh, it was a minor third. Sorry about that. So that's the sound, like right out the gate. And a cool way to kind of start finding like what kind of chords will work with this is to just find a voicing based on the intervals that we have. And so we can do the root as the top sound for now. So for this voicing and for instance, Ionian, I really like this. So we can kind of base it off of that just to kind of make it simple. And if you want, we could use kind of like a standard dominant 7 voicing for the first chord, or we can do an augmented. We can do just like a major. We can try to add that flat 9. Or maybe the flat 9 with... This is a pretty hip sound, I think. Or we could add the augmented 4. I think this one is kind of coolest. So that's for the root note. For the flat 9, let's find another voicing that sounds cool. So normally in Ionian, for instance, I would like this. Or for Lydian, I would like this. Maybe for minor, it would be this. So something that's similar to that, we could use, for instance, kind of wild. So and then for the oh no, sorry, I'm totally wrong. It's here. My bad. Here. It's kind of hip. So this could be our voicing for the flat 9, for the third, for major, the classic. For the minor, we could use also the classic or here. It's kind of nice with that little jump here. For dominant, it could be, for instance, so there's plenty of choices. We could use this. This one sounds kind of similar to what we've had before. Kind of like a crazy dark sound. So right now we're all using intervals based off of it. So it's the major third, 1, and then augmented 4th. For the sharp 4, kind of what to associate that with could be Lydian, could be a great Lydian. So just from here.
Yeah, there you go.
This one's kind of crazy. So right now we have and then the 5th. Man, this is freaking hard. It's kind of hip. Okay, cool. So we have a couple. No, wait. And then finally, the last chord. What can we add with that? Cool, so just simple with that. Flat 7, augmented 4, flat 9. So here are just 7 voicings how you can harmonize that scale, and that's just based off of things that sound good. Obviously, your this is like unlike any scale that I've messed around with, so it's like super awkward for me to try to remember all this, but and then so you could like, let's say that you made I wonder if I can loop with this thing. Let's just do a test. Can you hear this? And the playback rate. No, I can't hear it.
Yeah.
So you can hear it, but I can't.
Oh.
Okay, never mind. Theoretically, what we can do is you can make a loop. Let's say they make a riff based on some of these things. So you can, and from there, like you can imagine like the. For instance, like kind of create like a little loop and like mess around with that mode, and that could eventually turn into like a whole freaking song based on that. That is the kind of way that I would assign anybody to do like a homework that anybody who wants to kind of mess around with modes would do with any of the scales from the kind of common scales that we talked about first. So like, let's say major. Or Lydian. we can even change them around from like what I normally do, but something that I like to do is try to get as much of that mode's sound within all these voicings. Or for instance, do that with all those modes that you can think of. And another cool way to do something would be if you, let's say that you found the voicing based on the mode that you made. That's kind of crazy. So if we're doing that crazy mode, let's do that, for instance. So right now we have a flat 9, we have a 5, and then a flat 6. And so another way to harmonize this would be to, for every note that you're using here, go up to the next note in the scale. So the flat 9 would go to a major third. And then the 5 would go to a flat 6. The flat 6 would go to a flat 7. And so from here on, major third, the next step in the scale would be an augmented fourth. The flat 6, the next one would be a flat 7. Flat 7 to 1. And then the augmented fourth will go to 5. The flat 7 will go to 1. The 1 will go to flat 9. So where were we? See, I gotta go up the other way. Brain's just overloading right now. And then this is where we were, yeah. So that's flat 9, we have 1, and then we have 5. The 5 goes to flat 6, the 1 goes to flat 2, and the flat 2 goes to major third. And moving up, the flat 6 goes to flat 7, the flat 2 goes to major third, and then the third goes to sharp 4. And then the flat 7 goes to 1, 3 goes to sharp 4, the sharp 4 goes to 5, and then we're back. Or that's pretty cool. But you can kind of go crazy. Obviously, it's way easier if you like sit down with a chord diagram, type in all this sort of stuff, because yeah, as you can see, like I'm struggling with it so much, just like trying to like navigate all of them. It's super hard with like different sounds that you're not used to, but it can be extremely rewarding creatively to like mess around with these modes. Like even just type in all sorts of ways, like type in flat 9, 9, flat 3, 3, 4, sharp 4, 5, and then do, for instance, flat 6, 6, flat 7 and 7, so that they don't like kind of overlap each other, kind of a thing. And just see, put a bit in random.org and see whatever order you get from it, and just pick the 7 first ones, and just skip one if you have 2 of the ninth or whatever. But just find like a random way of just picking different intervals, and like try to make a sound out of it, and just see how that can inspire you to like write something and be musically kind of creative with it. It's kind of kind of a lot, but I hope everybody was able to follow that. It's kind of like it's everything that I wanted to have like for the first part of this agenda. Anybody have any questions about that? Like, I'd love to answer some of that. It's super involved, so I'm kind of anticipating there to be some kind of questions about the whole thing.
Well, I've got a question, because you've got a really unique sound when you're improvising. When it comes to your melodic choices and your scale choices, is a lot of that kind of interchange of just putting some of these synthetic scales that you've come up with over more traditional harmony? Because I think like earlier
Absolutely.
we had a question about when does the Locrian Natural 2 come up? You'll shoehorn some of these things in, like in unconventional places, right?
Mm-hmm. Basically, that's how I've been shedding it. Just over something that I've done is like I've kind of gone into like my favorite drummers, so like Aaron Sterling or Vinny Kaluda, and like see like drum demos of these guys, and like I've found like 2 or 4 bars where they're just playing like a groove, loop that, added like a little drone over it, and just worked on that tonality, and then kind of worked on going back between, let's say, for the majors, it would be like major and Lydian. And I think just going back and forth like that, it really helps you establish the different sounds in relation to all the other intervals, just depending on which of those, like of the fourth friend, which one are you bringing? Are you bringing Chad or are you bringing Jack? Like, and how do everybody else respond to that? And kind of just see how that works. And after, like, if you just give yourself time to just digest that, you really learn the tonality of the intervals, as well as obviously the modes. The modes is like the first step. Just identify the mood, feeling, all that you get from the modes. And then the next step would be to do that same thing with each separate interval and just see how it does in that context. And I think that's kind of, if that answers the question a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm thinking like in terms of practice, if someone comes up with one of these random out there sounds, it's also good practice to practice interchanging that with a more traditional sound. Is that kind of what you're doing with the main going?
Yeah, you have to. Otherwise, you're not going to be... It's almost like, if not, then you'll have this lane that you normally play, and then, oh, for this sound, I'm going to put it in this lane, so you got to skip it. But what you want to do is you want to like be able to guide it back and forth. And so I think with anything super weird, like, add it into the blues. Like, if you're doing... Like, can you do like the... Can you kind of find your way back into like the blues kind of a thing? That was a terrible example right now, but you get the gist of it. Like, can you merge it in? It's almost like you're morphing something. Like if you had those reverbs where you're, okay, right now I'm playing huge hall reverb, and then you set up like the morphing effects. Kemper has it, I think Fractal has it and stuff, and just click that morph sound, and it goes from the hall reverb, and then it slowly, gradually goes into like the spring reverb. It's almost like the way that I look at like those kind of different tonalities, and like you develop vocabulary based on it. Mm-hmm. And it's very cool. Yeah, go ahead.
So these things you can practice them in isolation, but they don't really become functional a lot of the time until you're able to blend and bring them back to the key.
Yeah, you can always make it functional if you're making like a loop like that imaginary loop that we just did. You can always make them functional in that way when it's just like that sort of tonality by itself. Um, if anybody's interested, like the first thing that I did with that kind of a like a somewhat of a similar concept where I got the idea from was it was like a Berkeley class that was like based on air training, but we had like all these like different sections of like going back to that diagram to like what you call it, and I made this thing based on like the mode called Ultra Locrian, and I just made like a song out of it. And for that whole song, like it's all like voicings that I've created based on those same kind of concepts. And if you're interested in it, it's just called Ultra Locrian. I think I did it with like a Neural DSP plugin or something. But for that kind of a situation, like if you're making like a whole song out of it, you can always apply it kind of easily. But if you are wanting to add it to like whatever song that you're doing or working on, definitely go back and forth and practice it just like you would practice any kind of superimposed chord, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And then we've got some questions here. So when you're starting out with these things, do you write lines down or do you just let your ears kind of guide you with note choice when you're starting to improvise with these scales? Do you find writing lines useful?
Definitely, definitely. I think I would mess around with the sound first and try to get the emotion, overall emotion of it as a full thing. Because as like especially like in the melodic minor thing, like if you just play, it doesn't sound like melodic minor, even though that's what I intended it to be. It doesn't sound like that until you apply this note, the minor third. And I think that just messing around with the overall sound will kind of help you to just get to know what the mode actually sounds like, because with all these like kind of oddballs of modes, it's very easy to just, oh, this is the upper half of it and it sounds totally different at the like in the context of the lower half. So it's like, I mean, going back to the friends thing, it's like you're bringing like this friend group with this friend group, and then you're not like they're sitting at separate tables and they're not interacting, but you want them all along a big table and just having fun together, kind of a thing.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Cool. There's only one more question, which is how are you influenced by some of the guys that we talked about earlier? How does your style and evolution as a player, how has it been influenced by other virtuoso guitar players? And did you jam, gig a lot with Rick, Levi, Jack, etc., those guys?
We didn't gig much, but always enjoyed playing and jamming and stuff with them. Definitely super influenced. It's I think the biggest influence is just inspiration, even more than anything else. It was because you were in it too, Luke. Like just seeing all these other players and just seeing the kind of level that they're at. It's just like, to me, it's just inspiring. Whenever I hear somebody that's really killer guitar player, it makes me like, yeah, shit. Like I want to go practice and I want to play. And yeah, it's just been, I think the whole generation that we've kind of been coming up with, it's just been just ungodly inspiring when it comes to just like it's just setting the whole level of kind of technicality on just a different level. And it's obviously like there's different, I feel like there's like a very different aspect of kind of like big live playing versus like the sort of like cleanliness that you need in order to sound good at home or like in like a studio setting. It's very different kind of techniques, and It's just, I think the generation for us had the kind of like arena guys like playing big arena tours and stuff. Like those were the guitar heroes, and obviously like a lot of things like doesn't really translate that well. Like usually for those kind of gigs, like the pentatonic scales, like just that's like that's what you want to do with that. And then when we're coming up where everything is so like has to be so clean and all that sort of stuff, like it just sets the caliber to a different like technical level, I think. And it's just like super inspiring, at least to me, to like hear all these players and all these players coming up too, just like how clean they are, how insanely even their subdivisions are, like all those kind of things. If that kind of goes into that question a little bit.
Yeah. Do you think that had an effect on your and when you're trying to get into professional playing? Because we kind of had that bedroom virtuoso thing. They were big at the time, and when you go out into the scene and you're looking to be a hired gun, they're still looking for the pentatonic player for most gigs. Did that hold you back?
Totally.
Did you have to like rein yourself in? Was that something that you encountered?
I mean, totally. I think more so it's almost that for a lot of it, like something that's kind of annoying that doesn't translate is like the legato kind of playing, which I really love, like more than anything else. But like I feel like with like bigger gigs and stuff, especially if it's a bigger venue, like picking hand is like the thing that like cuts through. And so it's like I don't know. I think it's like a different skill set um, that you put on. So it's like I almost feel like for video content and stuff, like I'm bringing this toolkit. For the gigs, I'm bringing this toolkit, and like something that I that's it's actually pretty funny that we're talking about this right now because it's something that I've been like trying to like explore right now. Just kind of trying to get more aggression out of like some kind of hip kind of playing. And I think a player that's just amazing at that is like Richie Kotzen, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's like that's definitely like the focus on my playing site right now. Like just like I've been or constantly am just merging like genres and tonalities and messing around with that sort of stuff. Like my next thing is to like try to get more of those kind of like, if you want to call it like bedroom chops, to cut through better in like live situations. And I think it's just another little project that I have internally.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the way it's done mostly is people create a new style of music where where they can take that stuff live, but it's not working. It's much more difficult in the pop and rock
Yeah.
to make that stuff work. Awesome, dude. Before we finish, what should people be on the lookout for from you? Are you releasing any music? Are you doing any tours? Are you got any instructional packages or anything coming up?
Yeah, all of it. I'm playing with Jonathan Kane at the end of the month. Oh, the 22nd, I think. If anybody's in like Orlando area, that'll be fun. Like some Journey, a lot of Christmas music, and just good vibes. Have that, and then in the new year, I still have an album coming out. Just been trying to figure out. It's pretty much ready to track all the drums and all that sort of stuff. I just kind of go back and forth whether I should send it out or if I wanted to. There's like a studio in LA that you can like stay in, and it's almost like a little resort where you can just track and work. So I'm kind of going back and forth between doing that or going to Nashville and have some of my guys there. Just haven't figured out or made a decision on which direction to go. But from there, I'm hoping to get it out by around March next year.
Mm-hmm.
And then in April, I'm going on tour with Jesse McCartney, which will be fun. It's like a US thing, so anybody who's interested in meeting up and
Wait,
chatting,
okay.
like, will.
Okay. Sorry,
So-
I think I'm thinking of the wrong person. Don't worry.
It's fun. That's actually a gig that like some of the solos like I'm experimenting with like just trying to get that because the guy who's the MD he's just an incredible guitar player, and he has like a lot of because he used to do that gig before, and he has like an incredible right hand and just like super aggressive playing, and I'm trying to have some of that and then just add like some really cool like harmonic stuff into it, and so something that's super cool like when it comes to nerdy as for instance like adding like a melodic minor scale into like over 4 chords, for instance, going back and erasing all the shit that I said about like the different minor and major families, but like superimposing that, it's super cool because like especially if a 4 chord goes back to the 1, it's that Beatles thing. What? Sorry, this is super shit. Kind of a thing. Yeah, I'm way better at explaining it if I had like a track or something. But you get the gist of it, like stuff like that, like manipulating stuff and like having something. I just love that sound where you're playing a line and then your mind just goes like, shoot, like what was that? But it still sounds very intentional and inside. It's not like he went way out. It's more like, shoot, like that's hip, you know?
Yeah.
Superimposing harmony on top of Popkins not getting fired. It's funny.
Man, you're living the dream if you're putting off melodic minor on, well, imposing minor major 7 4 chords. That's the life we all want to live.
Right. I think honestly though it's knowing when you do that can do that or not, because usually especially with pop gigs it's like it's all about making a little a comping bed that's comfortable for the singer to sing on, and then when you have your moment or like different sections where they're not singing, that's usually when you can like do stuff, but don't do it too close to whenever they're singing because it can throw them off and you don't want to do that either. So it's like finding your little spots where you can kind of stretch it a little bit is kind of, I think, is the cool stuff.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
Sorry, just for updates on the album, where's the best place to follow you? Is it Instagram or YouTube?
Yeah, both of them. Both of them are great. I've been terrible at socials lately, but I think both of them works.
When you launched the album, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
We'll post it up
For
there.
sure. Yep,
Also,
absolutely.
everyone go and follow Kevin on Instagram. And yeah, you've got that another example of what we were doing today. What was that? What was the name of that blues thing you did? You did like a diminished blues thing.
What do you mean?
You did
What?
you did like you composed a blues tune but around a mode.
Oh, diminished blues.
Yeah.
I think
How did you not get
yeah.
that?
That's scale. So using like the scales from half hold.
Yes, I think that's a great place where people can see what we talked about today in action.
Yeah, it's funny you thought of that and I didn't even think about it.
Yeah,
I think
it's the perfect example.
I think in this, yeah, I think in this kind of term all the time. It's just one of those like, shoot, that's exactly what I thought when I wrote that, and that's exactly like usually what I think like when I write something in general. Like I do that voicing thing, like just find like, okay, so if I want to find a Mixolydian voicing, you can start on the 4. What else do I want? Kind of cool. Cool, like little thing to add to like a riff or something like that, and just like put them all together, and it's kind of trying to like make it all circle back. It would be like you have this party with the 7 invited people, and then you're just like, hey, Luke, I really want you to meet my friend Sawyer, and then that's that chord that comes out of that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's super fun to experiment with that, and it's like naming certain intervals and stuff is almost like just putting a little limitation to what you can do creatively, and from there it's just up to you, because you have, like, with the limitations, it's much easier to kind of settle on something rather than if you have endless choices, I think.
Yeah. Awesome.
So
Man. Thank you so much. We're gonna let you go there. Huge
thanks for having me.
Man, thank you so much for coming. People don't know this.
Sorry about the tardiness.
People obviously don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but Kevin was actually someone I asked a while ago, but you weren't able to make it, and luckily I'm so happy we were able to make this work with a shift in your schedule. So I'm very happy. And again, thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you, Kevin, man. I look forward to your album.
Yeah, me too.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too. Have a good night.
I'm gonna
gotta get some
now.
sleep.
Yeah,
Yeah, do it.
See you all later. Thank you, everyone.
All right.